Good evening. Welcome to Sugar, Silk and Stretch, a unique boxing podcast brought to you exclusively by Ace Podcast Nation. My name is Ben Doughty.
My name is Michael Silk Olajide.
And you, sir? Who might you be?
He calls himself right. I think he calls himself
Nostradamus,
right.
we should call him, because, okay, Gary's not playing ball with this kind of slick production thing, which is fine. That is his prerogative with all his achievements listed
I'd like to
beneath
get
him.
right into it.
Right, now, Gary, this is your moment. It's early days for the three of us all on the podcast, but this is your first great victory dance show because you said, in no uncertain terms, Friday night, you stuck your neck out and you said it will be a completely different fight. Eubank will be a vastly improved version of himself and he will win conclusively by stoppage.
Can I tell you something in my defense? If you juxtapose the fighters, it went about exactly the way I thought it would.
So you had the result exactly right, Michael. You just
Gary,
you were right.
Ben, what's that smell? Bullshit.
Yeah. Gary, you were right. What I would like to say, okay.
I said exactly. I don't want to sound like a flash fool, but I told you guys that I looked at the whole picture. I think Eubanks is a better fighter. I think,
based on what? And I'd only seen Eubanks. I mean, I'd hardly seen basically
it's
that.
He's a different animal. No one believed me, and
the only fight I had to go on him was his last.
I watch all the predictions, all bullshit. I told you yesterday, Eubank, if he shows up as Eubank, he will do what he did, and he did it. So I rest my case. Good night, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon.
Yes. Listen, all I would say, Gary, and I have no horse in a race here. I have no desire to minimise the nature of Eubank's triumph and his victory.
No, what about my prediction?
I was getting to that. Or your prediction. I have no need to minimise that either, and I don't want to rain on your parade. But I will say, my granddad apparently had a phrase, according to my dad, who relayed stories of his kind of ranting to me. And one of his things he would say would be, "It's not me that's that good; it's them that's that bad." Now, Smith was clearly. Come on, don't even try to tell me he was 100%.
You cannot tell me that. I understand. Liam Smith said he was on great form. I get it. Eubanks on the last fight was on great form. We get it. But there was no questioning from round. You know what? The fight was even to round 3. It was like a messy fight. It was.
Liam Smith, even in the first round.
Was very
first round. That was
first round, not after re-round.
No. Please, am I allowed to speak?
Yeah.
I know, but we're trying to jump in because
Smith looked dangerous in the clinches. He was elbows, heads, very dangerous. He got hit on the fucking chin with an uppercut in round 4. The fight went downhill from that. He never recovered. Now you could say he had bad feet. You could say the weight was bad. Up to round 4, it was 50-50. He got hit on the chin. He never recovered. That's my take on the fight.
My take on it is I've seen, I think, 2 historical examples when I see a man who looked a shell of himself in the ring, totally hollow with nothing to offer that night. There's Ali Holmes in 1980, and there was Pacquiao De La Hoya, which I believe was around 2000.
You don't give Eubanks the credits in the first fight.
Sure, but the thing is,
I think the only safe one was Ali Holmes. The rest of them, you know what I mean? The rest of them.
Everyone jumps on the bandwagon now. Smith was not right. What about Eubanks? I knew Eubanks was not right the first fight.
No,
that's
maybe
why
not,
I called
Gary.
it this way.
Maybe not. I mean, what I'm saying is,
I know in my heart this kid is a better fighter than he showed in the first fight.
Absolutely.
Whatever happened, it happened. But for me, he was not 100% going in. He was maybe starved at the weight. He was maybe life maybe had something to do with it. I don't know. But for me, he wasn't the guy. I know who he is. You could say Smith was not the guy. You know who he is in this fight. However, the first fight, it was a flash, knockdown, stoppage. It happened so quick. This was a complete domination.
It was, yeah. But the thing is, look at Smith in the first fight, and he's fainting. He's got head movement. He's sharp. You know,
he never got hit in the chin like that.
No, but
Listen.
it happened before that. You look at the second round when something weird happened with his ankles when he was kind of twisting those feet like something like he was
I didn't
aware
see
of
that at
something.
all, but I did see like the first 3 rounds, they were like the Smothers brothers. They were like mauling each other.
Yes, and it was even, Stephen. There was no Eubanks wasn't fainting in the first 3. It was a mess. It was what it was. You feel each other out. You jab, you grab, you get your distance. You do what you do.
They were grabbing each other, trying to get off. Liam was, I mean, I don't know what was the ref thinking. The ref was letting Liam hit him behind the head, like
he was, and that was the only plan Liam Smith had last night, was to try and hit him on the back of the head in clinches. He was missing with that right hand counter all the time. He had no head movement. He had zero balance. He couldn't get out of the way of a jab. He couldn't get out of the way of a jab.
What about the fact that, like, when he throws punches, I never understand. Winky Wright used to do this as well, and I can't understand how fighters do this. When they put their hands, they give themselves like eye muffs or whatever they are. You can't see out the side. So you can't see lateral shots. You have your hands covering your head. You know you're not going to punch from here. So you have to wait for the other guy to finish punching before you could punch. That's just the most ineffective offense and defense you have.
It's funny, Michael.
Liam has short arms. So when he goes like this, he's covering the top of his ribs and he's got all that body open. And I was surprised that Eubanks didn't rip his body up even.
Do you know that they call that the Joe Gallagher kind of style, that high guard, right, Gary? And I know he trained with Joe Gallagher at one point, I believe, Liam Smith. And as you said, I remember Jimmy Tibbs always saying that you should have shoulder kind of height, chin height with your guard, right, your hands. That's where you punch from. Yeah, that's where you punch from. And if you need to block, you lift them up, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. You catch punches, but you don't just wear them here. Yeah.
No. You know what the perfect hand position is?
Go on.
No, this is I went to Kronk Gym many times in my life. I met Angelo Dundee. I met some of the greatest trainers in the world. And the great hand position is you stand with your hands like this and you go simply like this. You don't move anything. It goes from 0 to here. Yeah. And then that is the hand position. 0 to here. You don't go here. You don't go here. Hand by your side. Go to here.
Yes.
There's the hand position. Complete relaxed state. If someone can hit you this far before you can move this far, they're going to beat you anyway. So that is the hand position, right? Basic, no movement. There's the hands.
Yeah, and you box exactly like
you have to adapt depending on the circumstance. So when the fighter's close, when it's an infight, your hands are in a different place.
Of course, they move.
And when you're fighting at range, but also when you're at, so there's like, let's say there's close range, medium range, and long range. Probably when you're talking long range, you want your hands like you had said. When you're medium range and close range, you want to do something a little bit different with your hands because it doesn't take too much to get to you. Then it's a chance, because once a man's already started punching, you have to initiate, and chances are you're probably not going to beat him if he's a faster fighter.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, you get other situations, you know, where there's everybody these days talks about the Philly shell, which they kind of, that's what they nicknamed the Floyd Mayweather type stance. Although there is different ways in which a guy, Tim Witherspoon, to hold his hands a certain way with that kind of low left hand thing.
The biggest difference, Ben, that I saw in this fight with you, but like just going off what I saw them, I've seen them both only once, right? Their last fight, Eubank was always ready to punch and always ready to defend. Whereas when I saw the first fight, it seemed like he was in and out of it. Like he didn't seem, his muscles didn't seem engaged and ready for reflex. In this fight, he was definitely always ready to fire back and let his hands go in combination. I mean, I guess you saw when he threw those uppercuts and he was throwing punches without hesitation. And hesitation is that's the kind of thing that happens when you get older as a fighter. You start to hesitate. You're unsure. Yeah. You can't pull the trigger as fast.
Or gun shy.
Yeah, well, he didn't have that issue at all. He wasn't gun shy. And that's surprising because coming off getting stopped or knocked out or whatever it was, you generally see some kind of hesitation in fighters. And Eubanks didn't do that at all. So he's got a good head on his shoulders. You're right about that.
From the ring walk, from the way Eubanks walked out to the ring, even to the fact when he won the fight, he never even put his hands up. After the fight, he never even raised his hand. He never smiled. He walked in like stoic. He did the job and he walked out stoic. He never had any up, down. He was just 100% locked in. And I say that is credit to Bomac. He got his head right. He went in, he did the job, he left. He never even smiled at the end of the fight. It was just strictly business.
And he gave Liam some props too. That was really cool.
No, he was not. Eubank is great. You know, you can all beat him up. I think he's a great kid. I think he's had a hard career based on. He has a legend father who's a great man too, but he has to stand up on his own 2 feet. For the first time, I told you on the last podcast, he's found a team who's going to support him, not dominate him, and they're going to allow him to be the best he can be. And I think you saw him. I think you saw a tip of the iceberg. I think he's going to get better and better and better if he sticks with this team.
That I'm not too sure about. But what did you think about Bowman? Was it Bowman? What's his name?
Bomac, Brian McIntyre.
Bomac, yeah. How was that?
Don't underestimate.
See, my take, Gary. He did what he had to do last night, and yes, he did look better, and he certainly.
Did you hear the corner? I heard the corner the whole night. Relax, stick the jabs. He followed instruction, focus. They were he stuck to the basics. And the basics is all
left jab more.
He didn't really thank Bomac that much afterwards. The guy
he was
going off. He didn't really acknowledge him.
Yeah, I was disappointed with that, but
he didn't acknowledge him. That's
that was disappointing, to be honest.
In any case, fellas, at the post-fight press conference, Liam Smith arrived first. They had to wait 5 minutes for Eubank, and inevitably faced questions from the press about what went wrong and how can it be such a radical difference between his performance in the 2 fights. And he didn't blame his ankles. He said, "Please don't run with that," because they made quite a big thing of it on the Sky TV broadcast.
Liam Smith is a complete champ. The way he handled defeat, he was.
But you know what he said.
I love him before, but I love him even more after. He was such a man. I'm sure he had problems with his ankles. I'm sure he had many problems. But he said, "I'd take my victory and I'd take my defeat."
He did, but you know what he said.
He did mention some things that were wrong, though, right?
He did, but if you bear with me, guys, at the
not really. He passed it off and he said, "You know what? I took the win. I'll take the loss."
Yeah, okay, but at the post-fight press conference, he said, "Don't run with the ankle. Don't. It's not about that. I've done that in other fights." He said, "It was the weight cut that killed me." He said, because the fight got postponed twice, the rematch. They were supposed to fight June 17th at first, the rematch. Then it was postponed till July 1st. And then, in the end, it happened last night.
But let me ask you this, boys, because you both know this. So, Eubank had the weight issue, not Liam Smith. Eubank is the big man coming down. Liam Smith is a fucking light middleweight. Liam Smith had an issue with weight. If he gains 2 stone between fights, that's his fucking problem.
3. But what he blames it on, Gary, and I agree it's his problem. He blames it on the injury. He blames it on the injury. He said that's why he couldn't
gain 3 stone because you got a bad back. Come on.
Yeah, you got to stop eating then. You got to stop eating. No way.
Yeah.
You don't do that. I've never gained 3 stone since I retired. Come on.
Yeah, I make you right. It's on him. If he said he had to
professional.
He said he had to cut 42 pounds at
some
point.
Unprofessional. And he
42 pounds.
I love Liam Smith, but you know what? If you want to go and be a fat bastard, that's up to you.
Yeah, you better
always give us the headline, Gary, for the show.
You better be Roberto Duran if you're coming down from 200 pounds.
Yeah. That's the title for this show. If you want to be a fat bastard, it's your fault, or something like that.
No, I love Liam Smith, but if he goes and gains 42 pounds, good luck to you, my friend. But you know what? You're a professional athlete. No professional athlete should gain 42 pounds in 2 months between a fight.
Do you think we'll see? Do you think we'll see a trilogy?
That's embarrassing.
Do you think
so? What kind of guy eats so much fucking food? 42 pounds. Give me a break, Ben. I've been retired 20 years. I haven't gained 10 pounds. Come on.
No, that's good. You're looking great.
I don't look great, but I'm about 42 pounds heavier in 2 months because I've got a bad back.
Okay, two truths right there. Do you think
No, but can you imagine? I've got a bad back, so I'm going to gain 4 stone, eating all the shit I can eat, and then I'm going to make an excuse. I couldn't get the 4 stone off because of my bad back. Give me a break.
I cannot believe I'm having such trouble trying to work with a fucking famous actor, and I'm constantly trying to ask a question, and every time he counterpunches me right out of the park.
What's the question you'd like to ask?
But Ben, you have to understand, my man speaks in soliloquies. He doesn't speak in sentences. This is
alas,
Ben, ask me a question, please.
Okay, listen. Some people said
he's a great actor. Come on,
don't
man.
you start now, for fuck's sake. Some people said that there wasn't sufficient scope for a rematch, never mind a trilogy. Now it has been reversed so spectacularly, and fair play to you and Eubank for that. Do you think we'll see a third fight or not? Should we? Would you like to see it or what?
Who are you talking to, me or Silk?
We'll start with you, then we'll go to Silk.
I think that the first fight, one would say there's a rematch, which is why there was a rematch. But the second fight, I would say most people would say there's no need for a rematch. It was so dominant. Now, if Smith was so hindered by weight or he was flat, whatever, it's a possibility. But I think that the first fight, like it was slightly controversial, but the second fight was a complete domination. So is it fair for Smith to get a rematch? Sure, it's 1-1.
Yeah,
but
should we see it?
The general consensus would be Eubank's going to destroy him again, and I think Eubank's on the third fight, having overcome the demons, will even be better.
Yeah.
So, of course, he get another payday, and it may be a different fight, but I think that Eubank showed enough dominance that I wouldn't want to see it, but I think Smith, if he wants it, deserves it.
Perfect.
I think there should be a third fight. I mean, why not? They'll both make money off it, and I guess he'll be able to settle things up in one another's mind. I mean, obviously Eubank's. I think Eubank himself would want it because he was knocked out by him the first time. And he wants to show. If he wants to show dominance,
he said it was a bone-on-bone elbow. He said in the past he's been hitting the chin. He sees the little white flash. He said on this he felt a bone-on-bone and a black in his head. And he said that's why he said it was illegal and he was angry. And I think based on this fight, I think he was probably telling the truth. I think he got a hit with a freak shot. Something hit him in the first shot, sent him loopy. He never recovered. But I think he's a very, very resilient kid. We've seen him in the past. He has a chin.
You're talking about Liam.
Something happened in the first fight, and he said it was a miracle. And I think now you have to believe him.
I'm kind of lost. I'm sorry, sir.
He's talking about Eubank there, not Smith.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying I know. I think you have to give the kid some credit. Something happened in the first fight which was not normal. I think he's redeemed it, over-redeemed it. Is there value for a third? Sure, maybe.
Yeah,
I think Smith deserves it because he felt flat on this fight. So sure, maybe a third fight.
Because Liam was sharp in the first fight, and the kid wasn't. Eubank.
I think Liam was sharp in this fight.
No, he wasn't, Gary. He was not.
No, if you watch the first 3 rounds, right, there's not a lot of action. But if you watch the when they grab each other and the elbows and this and the messing, Liam was fucking on the. He was really. Dangerous in the clinches, like his elbows, his head. I seen the way.
That's not boxing, though, is it? Oh, that's an
no, but but it means his mind's there. So,
I don't know, Gary. Honest to God, I don't think you get that one guy gets that much better and the other guy gets that much worse at the ages they are in that. Well, age could certainly make it get worse, but Eubank doesn't improve that much at his age, and Smith doesn't get that radically worse without there being factors. Yes, it was up to him. He shouldn't have turned up if he didn't want to fight, and the winner is the winner, and there's no excuses ultimately. But he was not the same guy. You only need to look at the first fight. Gary's frozen.
Wait, who wasn't the same guy? Are we Eubank or
Smith?
He wasn't the same guy. Well, I mean, the thing is, we're dealing with like just instances like you can't tell. One guy comes in worse, one guy comes in better. They both came in at, I just think
couldn't slip a jab, Michael. He couldn't slip a jab. He's got hands there. Everyone was getting through that guard. Every single jab.
Well,
you don't need a game plan.
Okay. So he couldn't slip a jab. Is that him or is Eubanks great?
Oh yeah, Eubank. It was so great. He's got this.
You're
The
giving
jab
Eubanks
like
no
a
credit
heat-seeking missile suddenly.
But you're giving Eubanks no credit.
Eubank to me, Gary, looked like he's always.
Terence Crawford has the greatest jab in the business, right? Eubanks is training with Crawford's trainer, and all of a sudden his jab was dominant. You don't give credit to Bomac? Oh no, Liam Smith was terrible. No.
How long did he have with him? How long did he have with Bomac? How long did he have with Bomac?
A month.
It doesn't matter, Ben. 4 weeks, a month, 5 weeks, it's enough.
What are you saying, Silk?
Well, you know what? I mean, you have to give credit to Bomac, which I don't think anybody did.
Man.
He made a big difference. If you're going off that first fight, looking at the second fight, that man was the difference between winning and loss.
100%. You're right, Silk.
I'm actually surprised it took Eubank as long to get rid of him as it did, because he was ready for the taking.
No, Ben, he was clinical. He was cautious.
Yeah,
he
was a right move.
And I also think maybe he was a little spiteful. I think he was in control. He enjoyed the control, and I think he took his time and he made no mistake. I think he from round 6, 7. He completely took control. Smith looked like he was just surviving, and Eubanks just clinically, slowly broke him down. And I don't think I think he didn't want to be reckless. We saw him in round 3 or 4 when he went crazy and he missed a lot. I think he learned from that. So he just took his time. Yeah. He picked his shots and he did the job.
But I mean, that flurry, I thought that flurry was really good because it established him as the dominant one.
Yeah,
like he went at it, and then Smith had no answer for it.
Yeah, and ultimately, I don't want to come across as churlish and like I'm digging in on this, because I never saw it as an unwinnable fight for Chris Eubank Jr. And I believe I said as much. I didn't really want to make a prediction, but you tied me down, John. I said I reckon it'd go the distance this time. That's what I said, which is obviously also wrong. But
somebody tightening up on their backstroke.
Yeah. You know what? I just think it's probably a limited amount of usefulness or intelligence in arguing the point forever that Smith had nothing that night and Eubank had nothing to beat. It is what it is. He's put himself in a great position. Let's talk about the future. Conor Ben was there last night, and he has announced his intent. Obviously, he was supposed to fight Eubank Jr. in a massive blockbuster October the 8th. Last year, you know what happened to impede that situation. It's still ongoing, but he was there last night, kind of giving it large, saying that.
What's that? Sorry, Ben. What's ongoing?
The Conor Ben situation with with the drug tests and stuff. The board of UKAD have effectively cleared him, or the National Anti-Doping Panel did, and the British Boxing Board of Control have appealed that decision. They're doubling down and digging in on this. But Conor Ben has announced last night, supposedly, he intends to fight this month in Florida on September 23rd against a guy. Perhaps someone can tell me his name because I've already forgotten. It sounds like Van Dyke or something, or it's not that. But he said he's going to fight this month. Come on, you can normally not get a word in edgewise. One of you must want to talk and come back to me. I'm used to you coming straight back. He said he's going to fight this month, but your thoughts on Conor Ben fighting on September 23rd in Florida and ongoing, whether this is still a huge fight between him and Chris Eubank Jr. and your views on that, whichever order you want to go.
I think that's all Britain fight. I don't know how much that's making anyone excited over here in the States.
I hear that. You've got a foot in both camps, Gary.
Okay, who you got with Conor Ben and Eubanks, Ben?
before. Okay, all right. When they were going to fight, I fancied.
No. Don't backtrack now.
All right.
Don't backtrack now.
Eubank should be able to beat Conor Ben, I believe. Yeah.
See how retarded you are.
Oh.
Okay, I just told you Eubank would destroy Liam Smith.
You did.
Right? Conor Ben will destroy Chris Eubank.
Is that what you're telling me?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I tell you now, the Nostradamus is speaking again.
Okay, and Gary, you are aware, right? You are going to be judged on your record with these predictions as this goes along, because
I'm 1-0.
You're 1-0. You say 1-0. Did I say?
Yes.
Hang on a second. You remember we did the Usyk Dubois preview? Did I say Usyk in 8 or 9 rounds? Do you remember that?
Ben, you can't redeem your credibility with the Usyk, who's irrelevant. So we're talking. We made one prediction together as friends.
Yeah.
I'm 1-0.
Okay, all right. That's fair enough. You can be 1-0.
So
we start the scoreboard now.
Right? No, I'm 1-1 because I picked Usyk.
I'm 1-0. Michael's 0-1.
No, I'm 1-1. I picked Usyk.
No, he's saying we're not allowed to have Usyk. We're only allowed to have the fights that Gary got.
Never went out there on that one.
Oh, but I made my.
Let's be magnanimous. Let's start it from now. Gary is the man, because the thing is, Gary.
1-0 to Gary. Because you got to give me this one because it was a big one. Because
you stuck your chin out. I'll give you credit for that. You stuck your chin out, and you were right.
Okay, so it's 1-0 to Gary. Now, second, I tell you, Conor Ben beats them all.
What do you mean them all? Who's all of them?
Whoever he fights, he beats.
Well, he said he
beats them all.
Like anyone in the world, he's the best fighter in the world.
Big thing. Honest to God. And it's not about boxing, it's about mental, it's about this kid is I love him, and I think he's gonna kill them all. And I love Eubanks. I think he's amazing. Conor Ben will knock him spark the fuck out, and he'll knock them all out.
Conor Ben said he'd happily fight the winner of a Spence Crawford rematch. You don't think he'd beat Terence Crawford, do you?
No. Crawford's another level.
Ooh, yeah. Thank God.
You're
saying he's going to spark everybody, but when you said you're going to spark
below Crawford, Ben beats them all. But he'll never beat Crawford in the history of his life.
No. That's a different brand of beast.
Another level. But he'll beat everyone else.
Interesting.
He'll beat Charlo as well. You think he'll beat Charlo?
I think he beats them all. I think he just doesn't beat Crawford yet.
Well, so he beats Charlo.
And I think you never put him near Crawford because, Freddie Roach, who trained me, was a great friend and he loved Manny Pacquiao. But he told me 10 years ago I would never put Manny in with Crawford. I didn't know Crawford then. I said, why? He said, this kid's fucking amazing. And I just never forget the name. And then years later, I started to watch him. And but I never forget Freddie saying I would never put money in with Crawford.
Yeah,
and I
he could certainly be one of those once-in-a-generation type fighters. Crawford.
And he's a lot better than he looks. He doesn't look so impressive and all this.
No, he is exactly what he looks. You know what I mean? I think it's impressive. Like people see people shuffling and all the bells and whistles, and they think, "Oh my God, that's the most amazing thing." Now he goes in there and he's like the most consummate professional hitman, just very clean to it. Does what works, doesn't need anything,
Oh, would you, if he fights Jaron Ennis, Boots Ennis, you pick Conor Ben, would you?
All day long.
You've seen Jaron Ennis, yeah?
All day long, Conor Ben.
Yeah?
Wow.
Conor Ben all day long.
What?
Well, all right, we'll have that one, Gary. We'll have that one. We're gonna.
you can't forget
Conor
this
Ben
one. Beats them all.
Don't forget
the only one he doesn't beat is Crawford, but he will never fight Crawford.
He'll never fight Crawford, but this kid Boots, boy. Ooh, have you seen him?
I've seen him. He's slick and he's good. Conor Ben will give him a.
Who's the best fighter Conor Ben's beat up to now, then, Gary? Are you saying it doesn't matter? Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter who he's beat to now. It's what I see in him. He's a brilliant.
Yeah, but you saw against him was against a different brand of opponent.
No, I see potential. I'm not looking at fights. I'm looking at the man.
I understand where you're coming from. But if you're
I
looking
believe
at if you're
this might
looking at
be-
potential, when you look at Boots, you see so much more potential than you do.
No, but
in
Boots is
Conor
like
Ben.
another. I'll give you an example. Boots is like Marks and Spencers. He's like every day. No, he's good at everything. He's rounded. He's this. He's that. Conor Ben is electrifying.
Is he like
Conor
Harris?
Ben, when you get a guy
Conor
who's
Ben
good
comes
at
at you and you'll swing and he'll make a fight. Yeah, but he's
I
still.
think Ennis is good at. He's like beautiful. Conor Ben is explosive, demolition king. And
Okay, but here's what
I
Conor Ben does.
would not be surprised.
Here's what Conor Ben does, and this is why Boots would absolutely win that fight, and this would absolutely win that fight.
Come on.
When Conor Ben throws a left, he throws a right. After he throws a right, he throws a left. After his left, he throws his right.
Yeah.
You don't
Remember this conversation.
You don't hit elite fighters like that. Like guys with
Conor Ben will take Ennis out in a round or two.
You can't do that. What you have to do is you have to mix up your cadence and you have to mix up your punches, and that's what this guy Boots Ennis does, that's what makes him so unpredictable. So if you're saying he's just going to come out there and
this sounds familiar. This sounds familiar to Eubank Smith.
You can't live off that forever, Gary. I'm looking forward to the next 7 months.
What I'm saying is, Ennis, rounded professional, once in a lifetime there comes a whirlwind, and he just executes. And I think Conor Ben will take Ennis out in a round, maybe two.
Oh, God.
Trust me, that's it's shock factor. He will not know what the fuck hit him.
Michael, we owe this man a great deal because he is clearly strategizing our growth. He's worked out where the market is, where the clickbait is, and he's sacrificing his reputation to get us more views. I love Gary Stokes.
I did that last time, right, with you, mate. I'm the only one. Carl Froch, the light heavyweight, the black kid from Sheffield. What's his name?
Lyndon Arthur.
No,
the kid that just fought. He lost to Beterbiev.
Oh, and no, that's Anthony Young. What are you talking about?
No,
what?
The cruiserweight who trains. He's doing a lot of commentary now.
Johnny Nelson.
Johnny Nelson, Carl Froch. All these fucking experts don't have a clue.
That's another good headline. We've got lots of headlines to pick for our YouTube.
No, in fact, they all talk bollocks.
It's better him than me.
Know the game, but they don't. They're looking at like what everyone looks at. They're not looking at.
Yeah.
I look at talent. I look at like when I see a kid who's fucking amazing, who may not have shown it yet in his career, but I see it. They're looking at records and
resumes and
him, and they're all this bullshit. They don't see the kid. If you don't see the potential in a young Chris Eubanks Jr., I love Liam Smith. I'm a big fan of him, his family, major fan. So I have nothing against Liam Smith, but Liam Smith is what he is. Eubanks Jr., given the right trainer, circumstance, he has potential beyond.
But he's not a prospect, Gary. He's a mid-30s.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, he doesn't
matter. Doesn't matter. Age doesn't matter. Trust me.
It does at some point, right? Of course it does. At some point.
When did you start? When did you start boxing?
It doesn't matter. Right now, he's a very strong young kid who's still on the way up.
I mean, I think he's definitely a country champ. He's his country's champion, yes. But whether he's going to
he's not.
Is he rated internationally? Is he rated internationally? He must.
Let me say this: Liam Smith, in his greatest day, would not beat Canelo. Chris Eubanks Jr. on his greatest day could beat Canelo.
No,
I don't see that at all.
No.
He wants to fight Golovkin. You hear that, Gary? That's who he wants to fight.
Well, a young Golovkin would be a mistake. Who knows what Golovkin has left? Maybe he sees something we don't see.
But that's what he doesn't share your confidence, it would seem, because he's calling out Golovkin, not Canelo.
Well, he's a smart kid.
Yeah.
You know, but Golovkin is still a very dangerous person to fight. So
yeah,
I would look more. I would like to see him fight Maybe a Charlo brother would be a very interesting fight.
The thing about Canelo is he's never really been abused.
accused?
He's never had an abusive fight, so he's got life in him for a longer time.
I think Canelo's on the downslide now, so someone might get him at the right time.
Will that be Charlo later this month?
Say again?
Will that be Charlo later this
It's going to
month?
be interesting. I
mean,
think
there isn't a size difference between them, that's for
Canelo.
sure. There isn't a big size difference. If anything, Charlo's he's rangier, obviously. And then Canelo's answer to that was, well, everyone's bigger than me. So, his whole life.
Canelo's definitely on the downslide.
Probably true, Gary, to marginally, I would
A
say.
little bit. Like, come on.
I don't think it's a downslide in his physicality. I think it's in his mentality, his approach. I think he's tired of doing it. Like the repetition of it just gets tired after a while. And your adrenaline stores just aren't the same. They don't fill up like they used to. When you're young, they fill up to 100%, and they come back to you after you've wasted them. They come back to you in a few days. But as you get older, they don't refurbish themselves, or you know what I mean. They don't. That's it. They don't replete. They just disappear. So there's no upside anymore.
Were there any other talking points from last night? Things you wanted to talk about, Gary, from the undercard or anything like that?
I was disappointed with Dave Allen, to be honest.
Yeah, it was like a sparring session, right?
It wasn't even the stoppage when he quit, but it's like, come on, man. He fought how many rounds before the stoppage?
6.
He may have thrown 10 shots in 6 rounds.
Yeah.
I understand you do this. You can't win a fight unless you throw a punch. He never threw a fucking punch for 10 rounds.
I wasn't sure what he was trying to do, Gary. I thought, is he trying to tire the guy out and take him to deep waters or what?
Sure, but you have to throw a shot now and again.
Yeah.
It was just a joke.
And
guy, but anyone could have done what he did. He never threw a punch the whole fight. It was like,
let me ask you guys something. Let me ask you something. Generally, are trainers getting better? Do you think trainers are getting better? More knowledgeable, more skillful?
I think there's a generic progress. No, I don't see it like a generic upswing.
Right?
Gary?
Trainers get.
I mean, the only way fighters can get better is for trainers to get better. That's it.
Yeah, but I don't think that. I think the sport's the same as it's been 100 years ago. I don't think that. You get in there, you have a fight. So, I think there's a few good trainers around, and 90% of them are dog shit. To be honest, I mean. Look at Shane McGuigan. Let's give an example, right? They say he's a great trainer. I don't know, but did he fight? It doesn't mean he can't train if he didn't fight, but he gets the leg up from the father. He's in the business since he's a kid, so he's been around it. But does that make a great trainer? No, it doesn't. What makes a great trainer is insight, experience, a knowledge of something. It's. I don't think you can look. I think boxing is a science you can learn, but I think you have to have something special to be great. I think training can bring it out of you, but what separates great fighters from averages, that's just what they are. And
well,
I think that's the same with trainers like Eddie Futch, and some of the great trainers. You can't get a young Shane McGuigan and put him in that league with these guys who it's just they're born to do it.
When they say boxing's a science, it's almost, you have to remember it's a science of bruising, right? So it's almost like they left off the important part. It's a sweet science of bruising. So you're teaching the guy how to beat somebody up. And it's almost like guys that are.
Well, there's got to be an innate something in you.
Yeah, but
you can teach 2 kids how to beat someone up, but one will do it predominantly better than the other.
Yes, and that could
Based
be
on his-
because of their mental approach towards, like, they maybe have more naturally aggressive in the side of themselves. Sometimes that's it, because they don't hesitate. They just right away they'll go at it. And then there are other guys that, that actually you have to teach how to be aggressive. You have to teach how to slip a punch and counter and all the rest of that kind of stuff. Those are the kinds of things that make you a better fighter. So they call it the sweet science of bruising. And it's just, yes, in terms of learning the arts and the skills, but not very many trainers teach them. I mean, the guys that excel today and the guys that have always excelled are the guys that have the most, like, knowledge. It's not just they're physically gifted, but they actually know how to do things better.
It's like so many trainers now are following on from their fathers. Like now we have Shane McGuigan, we have Brendan Ingle, now we have
Dominic Ingle.
Dominic Ingle. I actually think Dominic Ingle is a good trainer. I think he's not just. I actually think that he's not floating on the tails of his father. I think he's found his own space. I think he's a good trainer.
How is he a good trainer? What's his methodology?
Because I've just, when you listen to someone, I think there's certain things you can't learn by just watching. I think you somehow just know him, and he comes out with things. Sometimes I say to myself, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Do you know what Prince Nassim Hamed said about his time training with the Ingles? Obviously, they had him for his whole since he was a kid, of like 7 years old, to all of his success, mostly until he split and went with Emmanuel Stewart, and then with another guy called Oscar Suarez. He said at the time of the switch, he said, all I've done since I was 7 years old at that club is a set routine. He said, I've never had one-on-one coaching. I've just done a set routine. We all do the bags, we all do the lines, we all do loads of body sparring. And he said, and that's all I ever really did. He said,
I worked with Brendan Ingle for a year.
Yeah. And go on. How was it?
He didn't teach me a whole lot. He possibly brought out my natural ability. So, he's a little abstract. That's a little abstract in the conversation. But so he never told me anything, but he actually brought. If I had any natural talent, he kind of brought it out.
Which seems to be what Angela did with Muhammad Ali. Really, that seems to be what the way they work together very much.
Meaning, if I had no talent, I would have learned nothing.
There you go. There you go.
But in his defense, he brought out maybe the best of me, or give me the confidence to trust my instinct, which
by letting you do what you naturally know how to do.
Yes. But then I get with Jimmy Tibbs, and I think Jimmy taught me more than anyone. He taught me fundamentals. He taught me.
But sometimes when they teach you fundamentals, they take away what your strengths are in order.
Yes, but he also saves your life in fights when you get back to the jab when you're in trouble, and you like they go like I think yesterday Eubank went back to basics. Use the jab, stay off the ropes, don't get caught up. Like all the simple things that, like, if you have this information going into a fight, like maybe the first fight you never had it. If I say to a guy going into the fight, don't fucking get on the rope, stick behind the jab. All he's going to do is put the jab out. If you don't tell him, maybe he doesn't do it. He went out last night under the order, stick behind the jab, stay off the ropes, stay fluid.
I don't know.
Three orders. And the 3 orders he had kept him out of trouble. And once he's out of trouble,
myths about
and the jab starts to dominate, then everything else starts to come into play.
Michael wants to talk about the myths of staying away from the ropes. The myth that the ropes are a bad idea. Or a fighter's enemy.
Like people talk like it's
they
like
can
the
be a
ropes
friend.
are made of acid or poison or stuff like that.
But Michael, when you've got nowhere else to go and someone's on top of you, it's better not to be in that position, right?
No, it's better. Well, you know what's better? What's better is to know the ring, is to have worked in the gym in sparring on fighting off the ropes, because inevitably
understand that,
we're all
but-
going to be there at some point. At
But
some
Michael,
point,
I would
everyone's gonna
rather
be
be in a position where I can take a step back and make you miss rather than be on the ropes and have nowhere to go.
But you
So,
do have
unless
somewhere to go.
I
That's what I'm
can use the
saying. Though.
ropes, as we
In
know,
the
we can
ring,
learn
there's no
to
such
do
thing
this.
as having no place to go.
Because
The
they're
thing
Michael,
is
we're
like
not
this.
all as talented as you.
Okay, so here's what I'm saying. If my head is right here, right? I'm against the ropes. I can still move back. I can still drop down. I can change my elevation. I can get to the side. I can get to the left, go to the right. I got 360, right? Then I can go. The ropes do not stop me from moving 360. They may stop my feet from moving, but they do give.
Okay,
they
Michael,
also
I give you all the
false sense
credit,
of-
except
false
if
sense of
you're on the
security.
ropes, your body is completely open. The body
No.
goes nowhere.
Absolutely
Body
not.
shot on the ropes, you're
Just
going to
make
get
yourself
hit.
smaller. Make yourself smaller, Gary. Right?
You can make yourself
I-
smaller. You could turn on your angles. There's
Did
a
you
ton
see
of
Marvin
things.
Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard?
Of course, I've seen it 100 times.
That
Even more.
masterclass, right?
Yes.
Did he ever go on the ropes?
Sugar Ray,
He
yes.
was
A little
like
bit, a
this,
little bit.
like
Sugar Ray beat
Little bit.
Hagler off the ropes. Sugar
Yeah,
Ray
If
definitely beat
Hagler would
Hagler
have put
off
him
the
on the
ropes.
back of the ropes, he'd have killed him.
But he was in the corner in round 9, that epic round.
Yes,
Yeah.
for
There's-
moments, not for 45
No,
minutes.
he
He didn't
stayed
rope
there.
it up, admittedly.
No,
I
he
mean, very
stayed there with
but
him.
Do you know what I think the worst
Sugar Ray
thing?
planted his feet and let him go.
Yeah, the worst thing I think about being on the ropes, actually, Gary, is the judges tend to perceive it negatively. Even if you were doing fantastic work and they couldn't see you,
Yes.
James Toney, like ring generalship, they will mark you down
100%.
because they think the other guy's winning because he's got you on the ropes. Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
I
People
just
have this,
think-
people have
look.
this thing in their heads about you're on the ropes and that means you're getting beat and getting killed. And it's not
No,
the
no,
case.
Michael, I'm with you 100%. But ideally, I would rather be in the center of the ring.
Yeah.
But
myself.
then, okay, so you know what you're doing there. When you're in the center of the ring, it's a different thing altogether. If you're in the center of the ring, that means your reflexes have to be better than the other guys.
Well, they are.
Yeah. Okay. So
They were.
they are, but that's not the average for all fighters, right? Like,
No,
your reflexes were incredible. I 100%.
No. Let's not say that. But what I'm saying is, Michael, if ideally for me, and I think for most fighters, middle of the ring, when you get on the ropes, you have some limitation of what you can and can't do. Is that not correct?
Yes.
If you're a seasoned pro who's learned to use the rope,
Yeah, there's a
like
perceived
yourself,
limitation,
maybe.
but that
Some kids
perceived
don't know how
limitation
to
is
use
only,
ropes.
but that perceived limitation is only because you haven't practiced fighting. You haven't mastered the art of fighting off the ropes. That's all.
But let's be honest. Let's get back to the point Gary was making. He's right that Eubank didn't need to be there last night, and it was a good thing he stayed off him in the centre of the ring and dictated with his left jab. If you look at the problem Eubank had when he got knocked out last time, he was in the corner on the ropes, right?
on the ropes.
Yeah.
Well,
So
didn't
Gary
he
is
step
valid.
in- Didn't
I
he
think
step in with a
Eubank,
punch?
you know
Didn't
what the
he
most
step in with
effective-
Liam with a punch and get caught? I thought that's what happened.
You
No,
know what
he
the
was on
most
the ropes when he got
effective
caught.
punch was last night was the jab.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
sickened Smith, the jab. He never let him get set up. He kept hitting him with the jab. He kept knocking it. It was like, and that was Bomac, jab, move,
Yeah.
jab.
And that's
stay with-
another thing. And that's another thing, if I may
Basic.
say. So he's like this with the cuffs, and he's eating jabs right down the middle. And I'm sorry, how many years has Liam been a professional boxer? How long has he been boxing for?
Over 10.
So over 10 years. What about this? When the jab comes your way? What about that? That's just like
Yeah.
the most simple thing. Block the damn jab. Nobody
See, and
does
getting
it.
back to Brendan Ingle, I remember Brendan Ingle once. There was an article in one of the boxing news-related publications, and Brendan Ingle said that a novice in the gym said to him, "How do you defend against a left jab?" And he said, "Well, I can show you about 10 ways." And then he
Yeah.
broke down 10 different ways. And I know you could do that right now. If I asked you, I know you could do it too, Gary. So that's got to be something a trainer's capable of doing. Obviously, is at least showing you 10 ways you could defend against that left jab, right?
Yeah, and that wasn't done. Like he just put his hands up here and wherever he blocked punches by accident, osmosis. I don't know what it was.
You know what I feel about the shape he was in last night, but I don't want to keep going on about it because certain people are not going to accept it, and it's just going to make me look churlish that I'm arguing the toss because because Gary got it right and we didn't, and that's not
No,
bad.
but I understand Liam Smith, possibly because of the weight, wasn't 100%. But Michael will tell you this from his experience. I've been there myself. Not every fight you're 100%, but you find a way.
Sure.
That's one of Michael's favorite sayings.
You find a way. You struggled through it. There was not a inclination of a possibility of a way. He was so dominated. So, you know, it's one thing looking, you're not sharp and you can't get off it. He just got fucking beat up by a better fighter. And I think if it happens again, it will happen again. And I love Liam Smith again, but
why?
Chris Eubanks Jr. is better fighter than you think he is. I promise you.
Okay.
He's not filled his potential yet. He's not. I hope he does. It's late to do it, but I think I think with a good camp like he has now, and if he listens and he disciplines, I think there's a lot more in this kid than people see. And I think yesterday was just a little sign of what's possible.
Ben, why do you keep calling him girlish?
Say again?
Why do you keep calling him girlish?
What are you talking about?
You said twice. You said he was girlish.
I didn't say girlish. I don't know what word you... Churlish. I said I don't want to be churlish. You know that word, right?
You don't want to be... Oh.
I said I don't want to come across as churlish. Now, come on. When I first read about you in KO magazine, they say you may need a dictionary to follow this guy's interview. So you should be au fait with linguistic nuances. You know.
Excuse me.
So, fellas, listen, fellas, there's not a huge amount of action next week. There isn't a big fight next week, really, to get our teeth into, but no doubt we will find something. I don't doubt that for a second. The next thing's on the horizon is Joe Joyce, Zhilei Zhang rematch September 23rd. And obviously, you've got the big Canelo Charlo thing on September 30th. So I would suggest we reconvene as normal next week. But what we're going to talk about, perhaps, that... you know, we could still get a guest on, fellas, but I can imagine it'd be fucking chaos with four of us on the screen. But I'm up for it if you are.
I can take it down.
You know,
but maybe we could talk about the psychology of boxing a little bit next week. Maybe we can talk about some fundamentals. Maybe you can, talk about
strategies,
things that. Insightful things for the viewers to understand what makes us tick and how we get to where we get. There's many top subjects I think more interesting than fights. But
absolutely, and that's what me and Michael have done with this show. It's before you come on board. If we didn't have a big fight that made sense to talk about, we'd find something else.
That would be Michael and I.
Sorry, is that the grammatical? Is that the correct way to say it?
Yes,
so not me. Yeah, that's right.
You always put yourself first. I noticed he always puts.
Would it be more appropriate to say the king and I?
Gary, did you notice that?
Of course, I noticed
himself first. Yeah, all the time.
Very, very disrespectful, man.
Yeah. Listen, guys, it's nice to get to this chill point where not everybody's all shouting at once, and we just got this zen-like calm. Is there anything else you would like to cover before we bid the ladies and gentlemen good night?
Stretch needs his own shirt. You see both Ben and I. Yeah. He has white sugar on his. I have silk on mine. Gary?
I have nothing on mine. I'm just simply Gary. Stretch.
How about, you know what we're going to do? I'm going to get you a T-shirt. It's going to say, "Don't you know who I am?"
and I'll wear it in a chip shop.
Yeah, will you please? When you come to London, if you're coming for the movie or whatever.
I go to a fish and chip shop and go to the.
Can we go to a fish and chip shop? We give you that T-shirt. Can we do a sketch where you literally go, "Don't you know who I am, love?"
And then someone's going to hit me from somewhere, right?
Yeah. Well, let's mock it up like a sketch. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see that.
It's been an interesting week. I've been looking. I never go online, but since this podcast I've been going online, I've never seen so much abuse I've been taking from the various media people writing in. I knocked him out. He knocked him out. Fucking hell! It's like I spent my whole career on my ass. So,
if it's any consolation, Gary, I get it. Even in my lowly position, I get people saying this, that about me. I'm surprised you may get people get in your inbox at some point saying, "Oh, don't work with him. He's a wrong 'un and he did this and he did that." There's all
No,
of that sort of
I smile. You know.
Fortunately
It's,
for me, I can't read, so I don't worry about it.
yeah. Well, I know you always keep
Michael's
one eye on
untouchable.
development.
He's untouchable. The silk they can't touch. Me and you
I'd
are
like to
more
make it clear.
men.
I'd like to make it clear that you're allowed to make jokes about Michael's ocular style because he doesn't.
Michael, let me ask you something. What happened with the eye? I don't know. I think the viewers would like to know because I'm sure many don't know.
Okay. So initially, I had an orbital fracture, and I had the orbital floor, the floor the eye sits on. I got a thumb in sparring, and it dropped in the socket. And so, you continue fighting, and then the more you fight, the worse it gets. So then I had the orbital bone, the eye that makes the eye solid, that kind of fractured, that came apart, and that was really it. And so I lost vision. So I'm legally blind in it, but it's very blurry. I can't see, and it's kind of like they're uneven. So I'd rather cover it than look like one of those lizards that's kind of.
It's really worked out for you stylistically, hasn't it? Because it looks the bollocks, and you've obviously always got different ones. It's your style, so it's almost. I think you actually look better than people. Women.
You gotta own it, right?
Michael's got better looking.
Sponsorship on the eye now.
Yeah, can we do that? Take one for the team. That. No, women message me.
Listen,
women
I
message me saying that you
them for a living.
Yeah, women message me saying that you're better looking today than you were in your heyday. That's what I'm hearing.
Oh, yeah, what day is it now?
I don't know. Gary thinks it's Friday. That's the link he logged into. First of all,
yeah, no, that's a compliment. Thank you very much.
And I know another woman who's probably more than one, but one in particular who's in love with Gary, who's like, she always used to talk about him. 10 years ago, I was training her as a personal training client. She said, God, I was in love with that Gary Stretch, posters everywhere. She's seen that he's on board now, and she's absolutely cock-a-hoop that he's joined the fold. But gentlemen, it's been a pleasure as always.
I think the glasses gives you a very polished
I'm blind.
Debonair.
Yeah. So this is descended into a gay loving. Is that what I'm feeling? Listen, guys, it's been a pleasure as always. We hang around and we'll have a quick chat backstage. In the meantime, thank you for tuning in. I see lots of you engaging this week. Really sorry I didn't answer any of your comments on YouTube or on Facebook, but we really appreciate the engagement and we'll get back to them. In the meantime, be lucky, keep punching. Over and out. Simon, are you going to